Hey everybody, I'm Dwyght Mack with Max Moving Training, and today we're going to be just going over 3 ways to calculate your local estimates. It's common that I hear from a lot of owners now about how do I quote this move, or maybe I know how to quote this move, but if I had to bring in a sales rep, you know, um, it seems like a challenge to tell them how to quote it because they don't have the experience that I have by eye to quote a move. So I see in many Facebook groups where I see guys asking other people or ladies asking other people, hey, if you had this type of job, X amount of items, going from a second floor, going 30 minutes away, how much would you charge for this move? I just can't figure out this estimate. And it doesn't have to be that challenging. Once you build a system where it becomes duplicatable and it's understandable by you, your staff, and everybody else, life becomes so much easier. Any situation that you face where, hey, if you got a small move where it's only 1,000 pounds to where you got a 30,000 pound move, the system is always going to be the same. So it's all about figuring out which way works best for you, and that's what we're going to go over today. Just 3 ways to calculate your local estimates. So starting off, the 3 ways that I come to know is based off the home size. Your inventory. So you're actually cubing everything out. You got an inventory form and you're actually cubing it out, figuring out what type of cubic feet you're going to need. And then the weight. So a company coming into the area and they're saying, hey, I got about 10,000 pounds. How much do you think you're going to charge me to unload that, or whatever the case is? So to go a little more in depth, so with the home size, and these notes will be available. That's why I kind of wrote them out. But with the home size, when estimating this way, you're looking to assume your customer has a full home, like they're like a hoarder in a sense, and you're taking into account every bedroom and side room. So considering the dining room, the garage, porch, back patio, basement, attic, etc. Now you don't want to consider the kitchen and living room because that's standard. That's usually included when you figure out that, hey, the customer has a 1 bedroom home, 2 bedroom home. They should have a kitchen or a dining room, more or less. So if this is done right, you can be in a plus or minus 10% accurate estimate based off of your initial estimate. So if you say, hey, this job is going to be about 4 hours, then 10% of that, ideally maybe an hour more or maybe an hour less. So that's kind of the range we're going off of. And when we say 10%. But if it's like, 2 hours over, 3 hours over, okay, well, that's a full 100% over. You something was off about what information you received in this case. So a 1 bedroom typically would be about 433 cubic feet. 2 bedrooms, 866, 3 bedrooms, 1299, and each side room you could probably consider half of the bedrooms. So once you create a formula like this in a spreadsheet, I would say a spreadsheet, just so that you could keep track of it. The math does the math in Excel, and it just becomes so much easier to track. You could then just put in, hey, the customer got 1 bedroom. You already know the 1 bedroom equals 433 cubic feet, and you already know each side room equals 277 cubic feet. So even when you're on your on-site versus, yes, you can still cube everything out. You can still get an inventory, whatever the case is. But, to save the customer time and save yourself time, if you're fumbling trying to figure out, hey, let me break this down, let me factor in the stairs, let me factor in where we got to go, it starts to become pressuring. It starts to become, hey, oh man, I'm starting to sweat because this customer, I feel like they're rushing me, and I know they got things to do. Where if you're using this method, is like, well, hey, you know what, I already know they got 3 bedrooms, I already know they got X amount of side rooms. You factor in your stairs, you factor in any long carries, whatever the case is, and bam, within probably 5 to 10 minutes, you'll have a quote. And again, if my method was, if they had like three items or less in a room, I would consider that like a half a room. but if they had like 3 or more items in a room, then I consider it a whole room. And when I've tried this method, we've always been around 10% plus or minus our estimate variance. So now part 2, you have the inventory of cubic feet. This is what we just mentioned, where you can basically take a cube sheet, take all the items down, and you can cube it out. Once done, understand how much each of your crew members can physically move. So now you have to know your output with this situation. Similar thing to the home size, but with the cubic feet, now you're converting the cubic feet into weight. And then basically you got to figure out, hey, how much weight can each guy pull by themselves? And we'll go over that method as well, but these are just 3 different ways to estimate. So prime example of this is you're going to take the total inventory. It comes out to 433 cubic feet. You're going to times that by 7. You're going to get 3,031 pounds. And then basically 2 men, we'll say 2 men can handle about 1,000 pounds an hour. So you're going to be looking at approximately 3 hours in this case, roughly 3 hours. It might be a little over, but that's how you're going to figure it out by using the math. Now the 7 that we see right here is going to be your multiplier. That's standard for the moving industry. So, you know, that's how you're going to convert your cubic feet into your pounds. And vice versa. You can divide the pounds by 7 and get your cubic feet. So this is a fairly good way of doing it. But as you know, not every item cubic feet will be accurate. So even if we use a cubic feet that's in the CRM, that, you know, by default was placed there. If that customer has a huge king bed and you just put king bed in, and a king bed in the system is like 300 cubic feet, but their king bed is a true 400 or 500 cubic feet, that's where you still become a little inaccurate, but you're pretty close, but you still become a little accurate because everybody's home is going to be different. So that's what I'm saying. There's no 100% way of doing it, you know, and obviously customers' house is going to change from when you look at it on the first day to when they're fully packed up. So things might change. So you just basically have to find a way that works for you. That's a simple way where it won't be overcumbersome. The last one is weight. Now, weight is going to be in case that, like I said, prime example earlier, is that somebody, like another moving company is coming in from out of town and they have a big shipment and they want to come in and say, hey, we need 2 guys to help us unload. It's about 10,000 pounds. And you're just kind of like, what does that include? If you're used to taking inventory, what does that 10,000 pound include? So now you have to figure out, okay, how many guys do I need? Okay, well, one is to start off, you're going to need to figure out what's your output. Now, typically, if people are using like 500 pounds per man, then 2 men is going to be about 1,000. That's going to be about, you know, what, 10 hours if you do 10,000 pounds divided by 1,000. So obviously, you're going to have to figure out, okay, well, that's not going to be feasible. So you basically are going to have to figure out how to quote in different ways. And I feel like each of these ways you should have on your repertoire, just in case you get hit with the situation, such as, let's say that with the cubic feet direction, let's just say that a customer is in storage and they have a 10 by 20 storage unit, and 10 by 20, and they said it's full. A 10 by 20 is about 1,600 cubic feet. So now you're going to have to divide that 1,600 by 7 to get the weight. Once you get the weight, then you're going to have to figure out what your output is. How many pounds a guy can lift on their own. So everything is going to revert back. But having these 3 different ways of being able to quote will make your life so much easier than just going to one way that there is. So just before I go to the output section, so an example of the weight section is just going to be crew coming into your city and needs help unloading. They say they have 10K pounds. Well, no one unloads, take half the time. So we're going to divide the 10K by 2, which equals 5,000 pounds, and then divide that by 1,000 pounds because of the 2-man output, it's going to basically come out to about 5 hours is what you should expect in this case. This method is with the hopes that the loading crew was accurate with when taking inventory. In most cases, if it's a long distance job, they're pretty accurate because they have to have their trucks weighed at the weigh station, and they don't want to be too far off at the weigh station because obviously we all know those are fines. Now, with the output per crew, standard by the industry is about 500 per man. So as you can see here, 500 for one guy, all the way up to 5,000 for 10 guys going out. And some commonly seen standards, they could be seen as 350 per pound, and 20 up to 8 guys, 2,800 per pound per hour. So 2,800 pounds per hour. So what this is basically doing, which is a slightly different, is basically giving you a little bit more time. Because basically, if let's say it take with 3,000 pounds and 2 guys, is going to take them 3 hours. Well, in this case, it'll take them maybe 4.5 hours. So that's going to give you one, not to milk the time, but that's going to give you a little bit more time to, one, wrap the stuff properly, get it loaded in the truck, get it offloaded, get stuff reassembled, or whatever the case is, without the additional pressure. So that's kind of like why I think that, if you go with a little lesser of pounds, it gives your crew a little bit more leeway to be able to do the job the correct way versus being quick about it and just throwing stuff in the truck. So those are the 3 ways. So going back to recap, we have the home size, we have the inventory, and we have the weight. Now, just to put this into practice a little bit, I love my spreadsheets. So with it in practice, basically what you're going to be looking at is if you create just a simple spreadsheet just like this. It don't have to be anything complicated, don't have to look pretty. It just needs to get the results. So once you create something like this and you say, well, hey, the customer said they had 2 bedrooms. Okay, and they have, we said they had the attic, they had a basement, and they had a garage. Okay, so they got 3 side rooms. Okay, so in total, we have 1,517 cubes, a total of 10,619 pounds. Well, in this case, it's going to take 2 guys, because this is off a 2-guy time frame. It's going to take 2 guys 10 hours and 37 minutes. Now, we have the outputs. We know how much outputs is going to be. So this is what we're going to expect that the time is going to take, 10 hours and 37 minutes. And look how quick that was to figure that out. Now, ideally, we're probably going to go with our 4-man. So I'm just going to go and put in the 4-man real quick. So that's going to be about 5 hours and 18 minutes. That's reasonable. You probably could get away with 3 guys. Just going to change up the formula a little bit so don't get confused. And that's about 7 hours. I'll say that's probably decent because now you're giving your guys a full day. You're not wasting resources by, diluting the job with so many men. And hey, they should be happy at the end of the day. Hey, you got a full 7-hour day, go out, knock it out. Now, just to put it back at the 2 guys, just so that my chart makes sense. All right, so now, if you took the inventory, the same thing. Now that you took the inventory and you got the cubic feet, just put the cubic feet in. You're still going to get the same time, as if you use the bedrooms or you use the cubic feet. And then you could get the same time if you put in the weight. Now that you know what the weight is. If somebody told you, hey, I'm coming into town, I got 10,619 pounds. It's still going to come out to the same thing. Obviously, if it's an unload, well, hey, what you're going to do is you're going to just divide this by 2. Oh, 5 hours and 18 minutes. That's how long it should ideally take. So you're going to create a chart like this that covers you in the case where you need to know what the unload time will be, what the load time will be. So with storage, so a customer tells you over the phone, hey, I have a 10 by 20 storage unit. Now, this is 10 by 20, so length times width times height. So most storage unit heights is 8 feet. So that's where we got these numbers from. So that's going to come out to 1,600 cubic feet. Your 10 by 15 by 8 is going to come out to 1,200 cubic feet, and on and on and on. So in this case here, again, you're going to revert everything back to weight. Unless you're doing your output based off of cubic feet, everything is going to go to weight, because basically you need to know how much weight it is and how much weight you guys can output. So in this case here, we're just going to do a little bit of simple math. Times 7, our multiplier. Oh, snap, that's 11,200 pounds. So just to go down. Okay, so now we have all of our weight. So now you're just going to put in this weight again, and you're ultimately going to use this weight to determine how much time. So in this case here, it'll be for 2 guys, it'll be about 8 hours. For 4 guys, it'll be about around 4 hours or 4.5 hours. But we're going to just put in the 8,400 here. And we're going to divide that by the 4, which is the 10. And that's about 4 hours and 15 minutes. You can round that up to. So that's basically what it comes down to, is once you already know what the weight is, how much output you guys can handle, you figured out whatever method you need to figure out. So you ran into a situation where a customer told you they had a storage unit, that they had 3 10 by 20 storage units that were full, and they don't know exactly what's in there. Well, they still want a quote, and you can't go to every unit and try to dig around and try to figure out how to cube it out. So you have to come up with an idea of your pricing method for that. Okay, well, hey, are they outdoor units? That's important, because if you could pull up your truck, that's going to save you a lot of time. And if they're outdoor units and it's 3 of them, okay, well, hey, we figured out that one of the 3 units, 10 by 20, is 11,000 pounds. So we take this and we divide it by 3, or times it by 3, and that's going to come out to 33,600 pounds. Now, I'm just going to put this in here because obviously we don't have enough guys for this type of job. And then basically for 4 guys, it's basically going to come out to 16 hours and about 16 hours, 45 minutes, or 17 hours, if you want to round it up. 17 hours. So you're probably going to have to throw at least another 4 guys on this if you want to get it done in another day, in the same day. 4 guys, 2 trucks, approximately. 8 guys, approximately, what is that? 8, 16, 24, 32, approximately 4 trucks. So 8 guys, approximately 4 trucks on this job. And that's going to basically get you to get this job done in about 9 hours, 10 hours, if you're going to push your guys that long. So, and that's how simple math comes down to, with these estimates. So you don't have to worry about asking the next person, hey, what should I charge in this situation? You just have to know what information you need to get. So if you have a script, or your sales team have a script, hey, how many bedrooms do you have? How many, so including your living room and dining room, is there any additional side rooms? Like, do you have a back patio? Do you have a porch? What about an attic or basement? What about a garage? That's if you're going to go this method. If you're going to go cubic feet, hey, you know what? So what we like to do is we like to get our inventory, so we can start in your master bedroom, and then basically we'll go from there with getting all of the information that we need. Or you can go based off of the weight if they're in a storage place and they don't know what their inventory is. So these are the different ways you can go about it. Just create a template for yourself. No matter how you go about quoting a customer, you have a general idea of how it works. So now that we're back, all right. Pretty much this is like a chart that I would have created, and my clients that are in the sales program have this chart readily available for them. So it's easier for them to quote their customers. I'd rather spend about 5 minutes to 10 minutes quoting a customer or figuring out the numbers to quote my customer, and then spend the rest, the 30 or 40 other minutes basically building a rapport with the customer. That was better utilization of the time than basically having to figure out, oh, well, hey, this customer keeps talking, they keep interrupting me, I can't get the numbers I need to get, I can't really get an accurate picture of what they already have. So pretty much this is the example of a customer that, let's just say, is in storage. They have a 10 by 20, they have another 10 by 20, and they have another 10 by 20. Okay, so it's there, just not showing. So it all comes out to about this much, but I usually double the weight. So I'm gonna actually take just take the 2 away in this case, so that we basically don't double the weight. So it comes out to 33,600 pounds, like we seen on the other chart. So we put in the weight here, we put in whatever other factors we need to consider, whether it's long distance or the distance to the next location. And we basically have our chart, have our numbers. Now, I don't use 500 pounds per man. So my chart might be showing some little errors here, or whatever the case is, but I haven't used this chart in a while, so I would definitely update it if I did use it again. And you basically see that, okay, well, these jobs it's going to take a long time, especially even if you use 350 a pound. So basically, like I said, with the 350 a pound, it's going to take the guys, if you use 500 pounds per guy, it's going to take the guys about 9 hours. But if you're using like 350, it's going to take the guys a little bit longer than that. So that's why it says 12 hours here. So in this case, you might want to even just split that job up. Hey, we're gonna do 6 hours one day, 6 hours the next day. We'll load you up the first day, get everything to the 4 trucks, and then basically offload it the next day. And that might be feasible because, hey, now you guys are tired after they load up. They don't have to go over there and unload 4 trucks, and you can make it work. But at least you will know, okay, well, hey, if it took 12 hours, what you're going to charge the customer in a glimpse, if these were your rates, and it's just that simple. So those are the 3 ways to estimating your move. And I hope that made sense to a lot of you when it comes to estimating your move. Like I said, it's 3 ways. So you can either go based off the home size, where you say, hey, they got 2 bedrooms, 1 side room, or 8,000 side rooms, whatever. It's still going to give you a actual time that it should take. Now, I believe the rule of thumb for bedrooms is for each bedroom, there's about 3 hours, 2 hours to load and 1 hour to unload. That was the standard in the industry. So if you do use the bedroom method, just understand that for every bedroom, there's 2 hours to load, 1 hour to unload. If you're using cubic feet and you cube it out, you're just going to convert that to weight, and you're going to figure out how much output you guys can put out per hour. If you're getting weight, you're just going to use basically how much output you guys can put out per hour. So, those are the 3 different ways, but don't fumble the bag, guys. We know what we need to do. We know how we need to quote, and I hope that this helps help you figure out your method or whatever method you want to go. They're all accurate. It's just basically the home size is really if you don't have like an accurate inventory. So if they're not a hoarder, you're going to probably be there for less time than you would have estimated. If they are a hoarder, then you should be right on point. So figure out your way. Let me know in the comments. And I hope you enjoyed the video. All right, y'all. Take care.